So I grew up in White Settlement, Texas. And what was that like for me? Well, it's pretty nice. I moved to White Settlement after living in Fort Worth in the black neighborhood up until second, third grade, actually. Yeah, so we left the black neighborhood because it had become unsafe. We kept getting robbed. People breaking in all the time. Can remember waking up one night and there was a guy and he'd opened up all the windows in our house. He was standing on our dresser, digging through my mother's jewelry. Standing on the dresser. So I, I was really young, but I do remember it, and it was pretty traumatic. So I'm really glad my mother made the decision to leave that area. So we moved to White Settlement, and we moved into a trailer park, and we were the first black people to ever move into this trailer park. And they're really nice to us. I mean, it's pretty uneventful. We just lived there. We lived there for a couple of years. My mother is, at that time she worked as an electronic technician. So there was a big airplane plant and she worked there. So that's why we ended up living in that area. If you hear snorting, that's my dog in the background. He's so annoying. Anyway, so yeah, we lived in the trailer for a couple of years, and then we moved into houses. Seems like we moved about every year. So it was just one house after the other until we moved into a pretty nice place in Benbrook, Texas. Lived in a really nice home. Really had all the amenities, sunroom, dream home for my mom. She really loved it. And as far as how I was treated in White Settlement, I was treated well in school. The only thing that made me different was my hair. I wore a jerry curl. Thanks, Mom. We still go round and round about this. Yeah, and it was so greasy that, like, kids would come up and touch it and be, like, fascinated. Like, what the hell is in your hair? And if I sat on a bus or something like that and I leaned on the window, there'd be, like, this, like, grease spot on it. So one time, a daycare worker just came up with some paper towels and just, like, sopped grease off of my hair because my mother went crazy. Yeah, so that was really the only thing that stuck out in my mind as like slightly unpleasant. I learned just like everyone else. I was actually kind of better behaved than a lot of my schoolmates. In fact, I can remember one time my teacher pulling us aside. I went to private school as well. In middle school, I went to private school. For 2 years of high school, I went to private Christian school. And one of my middle school teachers pulled me aside and two other kids, and he just sat us down and said, you guys have been raised well. I just want you to know that you're being raised well. And it was really memorable, really stuck out. And so when we got back around the other kids, they were like, well, what did he pull y'all aside and say to you? And I said, well, he just told us how great we were and that we were well behaved and that we were raised well. And one girl was like, that is freaking crap. And I was like, well, you see, that's what he means right there. So, yeah, my mother did not play. I wasn't allowed to slouch. I couldn't use bad English. Still, she corrects me to this day. I had a lot of oversight. She Didn't let me watch, random TV shows. I watched a lot of black and white movies because they were kind of safer as far as the content. She was very heavy-handed, and I'm really grateful for it because it got me out of trouble, and I still got into a lot of trouble. Once I got into high school, I encountered more black people, and more black people that weren't like me, because I did go to in high school, middle school, there were other black kids, but they were just like me. So I had my family that never left the hood, and I knew they were sort of hood people, but I just didn't know that the entirety of the black race had gone into this ratchet mode, it seemed. I'm just like, what the fuck? So when I got to high school, I met kind of my first round of the ratchets, because when I left the black neighborhood, I was really young. So getting back into high school, it's like, oh my god, I couldn't even relate. No, I was no angel in high school. I found people that were into doing the things that I was into doing in high school. And let's see, they were Asian. My best friends in high school were Asian. Yeah, Asian and white. Yeah, that's it. I had one boyfriend in high school, and he was white. Two. One was Jewish, and one was white. And yeah, it was really a good childhood. Pretty safe. Pretty much didn't worry about much as far as safety. I didn't encounter racism really until like college. And by racism, I mean like somebody saying the N-word to me. And that's happened about 5 times in my life where someone has said the N-word to me as a white person. And maybe about 2 or 3 of those times they were just being trying to be relatable, and then a couple of times they were being malicious and just like shouting it out of the car. So I'm just not too busted up about it because I enjoy a good life. I can go into high-end places. I've worked in high-end retail shops. I feel perfectly comfortable going into the nicest of places. I know how to behave. I know how to tip. It's 20%, by the way. I've waited tables before. I've had so many jobs. You wouldn't believe it. So I worked at Starbucks for 5 years. I was a barista, autism therapist. I have had absolutely no trouble getting jobs. As far as now, the work I do, I'm an independent contractor type. So I really work for myself. I make YouTube videos. I write books. I help children, work with the elderly. All of this is just on my own steam. This is me finding clients that I want to work with. So I don't really have a boss. I don't really have to capitulate to anyone's ideas. It's really nice. I live a good life. And I think for me, not having a chip on my shoulder and feeling like I'm black, so I can't do this. I'm black, so I can't do that, has really helped me a lot. So that's my experience. Growing up in White Settlement, Texas was definitely a good experience for me. Ooh, that's a mosquito. And I recommend, if you are, living in a dangerous area, that you move. If you have children, for the sake of your children. If you're living in a place that, kids don't turn out well, it's a really bad influence, it's a rough area, move. Move. It's worth it to move. It's worth it for your kids. I think if I had stayed in the hood, I'd probably have some kids running around that I didn't want. And, probably be a little bit more scarred up or something like that. It's a rough life, so I'd have probably a rougher exterior. I'm just grateful that my mom, had the sense to say, well, I don't care that people will perceive this as me betraying the black neighborhood. I want to be safe. I have kids, and I'm not playing any games here. So we're moving. I appreciate that. And I think that it's your duty as a parent to be in the safest possible neighborhood that you can for your kids. Yeah. So, and if you can't afford to do like we did, where you move to a place that you can afford, it's a trailer park. I'm sure you have something in your price range that is safe. Even if you have to leave the state, move. It's worth it. It's definitely worth it. And I feel like it gave me a chance to have a good life by moving and living in a place called White Settlement, Texas. She wasn't daunted by the name. She said, yeah, I'm going to live there. Yeah. So, I'm 38. If things were that easy, then certainly easier now. Thank you to everyone who subscribed to my channel. I really appreciate you guys coming back. Thank you so much to everyone who has donated. I really appreciate it. I'm going to go see the Black Panther movie. If you want to donate to my Black Panther experience, because I really hate movies, make sure that you write that, and I will shout you out in my Black Panther video, which is coming up next. All right. Have a good night. Thank you.